think CrossFit has a very unique problem. Welcome to the Push Press Podcast,
where gym owners learn to dodge bad advice, crush the competition, and actually make money doing what they love. Let's get after it.
All right, guys, welcome back. Dan, as always, who's sponsoring this episode?
Today's episode is sponsored by Ghost. For when you fly in to Orlando from Las Vegas, laying over in Chicago O'Hare on 4 hours of sleep to record 9 podcast episodes, Ghost.
Let's go.
Let's
go. All right. So, guys, I want to preface this episode by saying we're digging into something that, as an outsider, it is absolutely impossible to know what forces any company is up against. So I want to unpack a little bit today. If Dan and I were stepping in as high-level advisors to CrossFit, or if we were running CrossFit, like basically, what would we do? And again, I'm going to say it just for the second time, like this is entertainment. And if you're not inside of a company, you really don't have any way of knowing what their team is up against, or where their pressure points are at, how they're wired, how they're built, what their goals are, and everything else. And so I think it's keep in mind it's entertainment. So all that being said, I actually, from our conversations, I think they've been doing some pretty, decent work on moving things forward. I think they're trying to address quality in gyms, first and foremost, right, by doing some requirements on level 2 with ruffled feathers or whatnot. But what do you think about some of the things they've been working on so far?
I think we start with like what's going good.
Yeah.
Right. From our vantage point, from outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
I think current leadership inherited probably a fireball, not just internally, but externally, or not just externally, but internally. Like there's a lot to work on, and affecting big change in large organizations is tough if you're not taking drastic measures. And, through fate or whatever, like it's some of the stuff actually has gotten, wasn't their fault, or maybe, I don't know, but things have happened since that have made it harder, have made their path harder, but that's business and that's what we sign up for. Mm-hmm. So, no passes there.
Yep.
But I do see them making effort and strides in trying to add value to affiliates and listening to people and, providing more value and, taking the feedback and making adjustments, like the L2. Were they perfect? Did it land with everybody? No. But these changes are being done as an attempt.
Yep. Absolutely. You can't say that they're not trying to move the needle.
Yep.
And what I think is, maybe the overarching theme for us to unpack, and I don't think that most people talk about this, but I think CrossFit has a very unique problem, which is, who is their customer? And we talk about this at Push Press because we have the same dilemma, the same problem, which is, for CrossFit is their customer the affiliate owner? A lot of affiliate owners would say yes. Is the customer the coach of the gym? A lot of coaches who went and got their level 1, level 2 work at a gym and coach would say, yes, I'm their customer. And if their customer is their customer the member? And, the people who are consuming CrossFit, whether it's at an affiliate, at their home gym, following CrossFit.com, what have you. And when you're trying to serve, I guess maybe you could do a fourth one, which is like, is it the competitive athlete? So point being, when you're trying to serve that many different people across all around the world, that presents a hell of a problem to solve. That is a Rubik's Cube that I don't envy.
Yeah. I mean, you could even, in the lens of being holistic about this, you can throw in, is their customer their partners? Right? Like there's a lot of people that they serve, if you will.
Right.
And I mean, shoot, like it's hard enough to serve one customer, than it is to serve 5.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think some of the biggest, maybe controversy around where this surfaces is like, should they lean further into regionals or the open, the regionals, the games, and bring back what it was in its glory days when it was in Carson and the stadiums were packed and you had to fly out to regionals and all these different things, right? And that was the sport of CrossFit, which is one side. And I think it wrestles at times with like the maybe it's the education, or it's the
what is the product is what is
the exactly what is the product that these customers are consuming, right? And so any thoughts on sport for you?
I think just in general, you got to pick a lane.
Yeah.
Just pick a lane and go with it. In my opinion, you could go one of two ways. Either your customer is the affiliate, and then your product is, I build business systems, I build business education, I build affiliate tools, I build support systems, I build things to make affiliates successful, which could include the coaching aspect of it, should include the coaching aspect of it. Or my customer is the end user.
Mm-hmm.
And in which case I would probably lean into sport. And I would use kind of the idea that the more people you can get involved in a sport, the more support there will be for the training systems involved in the sport. Like basketball training camps and basketball clinics exist only because there's a shit ton of basketball players.
Right. And the NBA doesn't host every basketball youth league around the entire country.
They host none of them. But Steph Curry might have his basketball camp.
Correct.
But yes, like the NBA is operating independent of the entire recreational aspect of sport. But every single player that touches a basketball, to some degree of passion, probably follows the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they're tied.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. No, that's a great point. So it's not up to us to determine which one it would be, right? But like, I tend to think it's probably easier to license out sport and lean further into affiliate tools, education, some of those things. And again, it's not me to tell CrossFit what to do, but pick a lane, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If it was, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter how sport is run. I think sport is required.
I think it's super freaking important.
Yeah.
Right. I've always thought of like sport is your Ferrari. It is the proof of what can be. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important for that to exist. Again, Steph Curry is the Ferrari of basketball, just like Tia is for CrossFit.
Yeah, I mean, it's this, I mean, I'm not a big car guy, but it's the same as like F1 or NASCAR, mm-hmm. right? Like you literally have these circuits so that you can test engines to build consumer cars.
Yep.
You know, and to build the technology that ends up trickling down. It's why we have the military. It's like all of these technologies start at something very aspirational and trickle their way down to, you know, common. Mm-hmm. And I think there's no way to attract people to performance in the way that CrossFit Games can do, mm-hmm. that will drive people into the gym.
Yep.
Like it is just such a spectacle that is aspirational.
Yep. Absolutely.
So that's my stance. Like I know people think they should just get rid of it completely. I think that would be a folly.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, my thought would be like license that out and then lean into, I think maybe the other side, which is the education side, the affiliate toolkit, you know, all of those things, so that sport, you know, would persist through, you know, Wadapalooza is going on this weekend, right? Like there are entities that are already doing sport, right? So let them do sport, and then you focus in on coaching education, right? Like making the in-gym experience just absolutely amazing.
Let me play devil's advocate to this, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head here. If you did that, you risk losing CrossFit as CrossFit.
Yeah.
Meaning like if CrossFit starts to be known as Wadapalooza for whatever reason, then you've kind of lost, like CrossFit is in this weird space where like the sport is the activity, is the business. Yeah, it's.
I'm sure this is the friction being had within HQ. It would be my guess, again, without knowing, you know, what those conversations are like inside their walls. But mm-hmm. like, I could absolutely see this being a sticking point. You know, and I think a big part of like the reason why we're recording this episode is because this isn't talked about. Typically, you know, I spend time in the Facebook groups and in the Reddit forums and talking to affiliate owners, and like, you get the members. I'm a member at a CrossFit affiliate still, right? And you hear the members like, want to see the games, get back to what it was, right? And then like you see the owners like, I want more support here. And the organization, I think it's unfair to ask them to serve 5 different clients.
Yeah.
You know, so that's ultimately what this conversation's about. But I think, if we talk about like, oh, maybe they, go this path where they were to, license out the games and lean into affiliate support. Like, I still think leaning into media is a massive direction, right? We just did an entire podcast recording on like, there was a piece in it where we talked about storytelling and how important that is. Gosh, CrossFit and telling the stories of everyone in the range, which is what something CrossFit's done masterfully, in my opinion, of like, show me the Vellners, the Tias, show me the Ferraris, right? Preparing for the games, but also show me the inspiring stories of the members who changed their freaking lives with the methodology. And then what's the middle ground is like, show me the coaches and their effort to help change lives. Show me the owners and what a day in the owner's life is like.
Yeah.
And you can tell that entire story to the world in a way where, like a Full Swing, like a whatever the F1 is on Netflix, where it's like, oh, now I want to go consume that thing because that storytelling is top notch.
Yeah, it's interesting. I consider F1 to be somewhat of a fringe sport like CrossFit is.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably, I don't know who would have more fans, but I've talked to more than one person who are now F1 fans because they watched whatever TV show. You?
Yep.
For one?
Yep.
Okay, I've talked to more than 2 people now. Yeah, there's something to it. Like, you buy into the storylines. Now you understand the why behind what's happening. You understand like how grueling whatever it is that they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and it drives more appreciation. The super interesting thing about CrossFit though is you can go do it, and like, if we want to look to a peer that is killing it in this realm, it's the MMA UFC world.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, I went to go see UFC 300.
Oh, that's right.
With Joe Tepe,
Mm-hmm.
the Strip CrossFit. He took me, and thank you, Joe. And I left inspired. Like, I want to learn jiu-jitsu. I still haven't. It's been like half a year, but it's still in the back of my mind kicking around. Like, I saw this. I can go join a gym that will teach me what's happening here. This is awesome.
Right.
It's so parallel to CrossFit, and I do think that's why we're seeing like rocket growth in the MMA world right now, because they have that spectacle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the weird thing is, like, the naysayers to the games say like, oh, people compare the games to like what happens in gyms. But dude, I wouldn't want to get my face bashed in and bloody all over. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a reasonable person. I don't think that's going to happen to me in a gym.
Right. Right.
So
yeah, no, you're 1,000% correct. I guess maybe the general point is like, storytelling is still so important, and no matter what the decision of, however they move forward, I think that has to be a key part of what they do.
And you see what UFC is doing now. Like, they have like reality shows where the stars are coaching the up and comers, and then they have like spar.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Like, they're developing characters, they're building story, they're actually leaning. It's becoming close. It's becoming more of a storytelling organization than it is just a pure get in the ring and fight organization.
Yep.
So they understand like that's what's creating connection to characters, connection to stars. The stars drive the show. It's just like CrossFit.
Yep.
In many ways, right? But they're doing it right.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. And again, you see glimpses of this, which is cool out of CrossFit, and I just want to see him lean further and further and further into it, because I mean, we know this. It's the future, right? Hell, it's the reason why we have a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reason why, again, we talk about this in another episode, like the brand account, social media stuff, like that's dead, if not dying. It's really what's important is like the individuals and connecting with the people within an organization.
So think about that, right? Like that whole episode we did about personal brands,
Mm-hmm.
and getting your coaches to become personal brands, and maybe getting your members to become personal brands.
This is it.
Like, yeah, you get the Tias and the Vellners, and these, they are the coaches,
Yep.
if you will. Like, the brand has a lot of people that have a lot of following promoting aspects of the brand,
Mm-hmm.
which drive people into gyms, which drive their, you know what I mean? It's like they could create all the leverage, the same exact leverage from all the way down.
Yep.
If they did this right.
Yep. Absolutely. And then, maybe the last point is like, we talk about media and education or the games. It's like, how do they support affiliates and businesses, going forward? And, to me, if they are driving eyes towards the methodology, be it through storytelling, of the sport, of the owner, of life-changing, inspirational stories that should, in turn, drive people into affiliates.
We see it every year. If you look at the Google trend chart, like every time the games pop off, the Google trends for CrossFit double, triple,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just goes right back down a month after the games.
Yep.
So if they could figure out a way to, maximize that value, that's the easiest and fastest value you can drive to gyms for what they want.
Right.
I think beyond that, they do need business support, affiliate support. There should be a business L1.
Yeah.
Like, quite frankly.
There should be.
Like,
there should be.
You should not be able to open a gym unless you know the methodology and you know how the basics of running a business. You should
Correct.
not be let out there to die.
Right. I agree with that. And then also, I think with which they've worked, I think they've got their mentoring program kind of rolling. So it's like they're giving some of that support, which is great.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think, I don't think some of these things get surfaced and appreciated often enough on like how difficult it is to like stand up an entire program to a group or an organ or a bunch of affiliates that didn't have it when they started, right? Like a lot of affiliate owners, I know you and me both probably, like, we stood up our affiliates and were driving them ahead well before there was any concept of mentoring or coaching from CrossFit on the business aspect. So like, would you look for it now if you already chose another path? Maybe not, right? So then you go back to like, then it can be perceived as like, well, what are they doing for me? I don't need that.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
they're in a tough place.
I think the last thing I would want to say is it's easy from the outside looking in, kind of what you said earlier, to just throw stones.
Mm-hmm.
But you see it every time something happens, just a whole bunch of people bitching about it. To that, I would challenge, like, yeah, man, if you were the CEO of CrossFit, what would you do? Like, run through that.
Yep.
They are trying, and they're full. Like, we work with some people there, and it's like, clearly they care.
Mm-hmm.
They might have their hands cuffed a little bit. They might not be able to make the change they want to make. It might be slower than they want. Like, plenty of reasons why it's not great enough, good enough, fast enough. But it's not for a lack of caring.
Yep. 100%.
And I think a lot of times people just write out like, oh, they're PE owned. Of course, they're just going to take our money. Let me tell you, like, I have well-documented beef with PE companies. And what I see out of them isn't the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same. They're trying. And I think that's because, let's speak frankly, I think the PE company that owns them realizes that there is no way to squeeze blood out of the stone. You have to try.
Yep.
You have to provide value. If they want to get any return on their money, they have to do the right thing.
Yep.
Whereas a lot of software companies have the leverage to say like, oh, we're just going to raise rates.
Right.
Which I guess they did. Let's be fair about that too.
They did.
But they hadn't forever.
Talk about grandfathering rates. We just did an episode on grandfathering rates. They were victim to it. They grandfathered people for $500 affiliates for forever.
Since 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why you don't do it. Like, you have to deal with the backlash eventually.
And so whenever there was like, oh, well, the games are expensive, we can't afford them. We can't afford a media team. Like, again, go back to that episode, listen to that episode.
Yep.
That unpacks it all. I do want to give them a big shout out. I've been seeing in one of the Facebook groups, affiliate owners posting some coin that they've had for either like 12 years of affiliation. CrossFit, please keep doing that shit, because our community recognizes success. We recognize longevity. Gym owners recognize members hitting PRs and milestones that are important. And I think it's important that any organization works with its customers how its customers work with them. And so highlight the gym owner wins, make that, start beating that drum so that other gym owners know what's possible. I think that's really, really key.
Yep. I would personally highlight their social media is coming around. Like, I don't know if you've seen some of the videos they've been posting, but they're getting better. They're starting to tell the story.
Good.
Like, they're attacking the what do you call them? The stereotypes of CrossFit with the anti-point on video. So it's pretty cool. Like, oh, you think you're too old for CrossFit? Meet Marsha, like that kind of stuff.
Awesome. And, they came to our company retreat and they did that kind of mini L1 workshop. It was not an official L1, but it was like the, dissemination of that information in about a half a day, as much as they could, right? It's a lot of information. And I still think they are, best in the world at boiling down what health and fitness looks like to a large group. And they do it so freaking amazingly well. Yeah. So, all right. So wrap this up. If you guys owned CrossFit HQ today, what would you do? What did we miss? Email us, podcast@pushpress.com. Thanks, guys.
See ya. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Push Press Podcast, where we help gym owners, entrepreneurs, and fitness enthusiasts thrive with actionable insights, inspiring stories, and strategies for growth.
Don't forget to follow the show to stay updated on new episodes. And if you're ready for more, join our free Facebook community for gym owners. Check the show notes for the link, and we'll see you next time. Keep raising the bar for your business and community.